Oh, how you doing? I always give homage to my ancestors with a
Okay.
praise. This was me giving back and letting you know how much I appreciate them, my ancestors.
And so you're going to do that on this slide, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna start you off with this right off the top.
Okay. Give me 1 second and we can start. Sorry, give me 1 second just to fix this. Okay. You can go ahead when you're ready.
Hi, I'm Lorenzo Pace, and we're gonna walk through aspects of my history. And walking through my history, we're walking through American history. And in that process, I'm going to talk about my books, then going to talk about the things that have inspired my books. So, you want are we into the process? I didn't know that
Oh yeah. Sorry. We can start again. But yeah, just
you
pretend
just start.
just pretend that I'm not here though, because I'm not recording myself, so my face isn't on there. So it's just you.
Okay, now the image I see you and it's a triumph of the human spirit. I can't see the whole text.
You can't see the host text.
No, I can't see the whole text. Is that because of the picture? We both of us in the frame.
Yeah, you can actually get rid of that. If you or you can move it so it's not in the way. So like you see
Can
the
move it.
frame, you see how it's the frame with you and I on it. You can like, click on it and just drag it, and you can move it out of the way.
How?
So click on the like literally just click on your own face and then just drag it, like move the mouse.
Oh, I see.
So you can put it somewhere it's not in the way. I think you just muted yourself. I can't hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
All right. Okay. Let me see the text. The whole of the text. Joining in the log. Good. Yeah. Okay. I think it's out of the ways where I can
Yeah.
see everything. Yeah. Okay.
Um, but yeah, whenever you feel free to start, just start, and this will be recording.
You ready?
Yes.
Hello. My name is Lorenzo Pace. I always give homage to my ancestors by playing a little tune for them just to celebrate them as I talk about my history. My history is connected to the American history. And as I'll go through this and I'll talk about my books and things that inspired me and things that have kept me moving forward and telling our American story. You want to go to I'm pausing here. Julying in the Law, my what I call the African American Quartet, teaching history through literature. John Lang and the Law, Harriet Tubman, my grandmother's quilts, Marching with Martin, Frederick Douglass, and the North Star. Now, I was thinking that when I name those, you put those up. Like for John Lang and the Law, pop. Harriet Tubman, my grandmother's quilts, Marching with Martin.
Sorry, my thing froze for a second, so I couldn't unlock it.
Can you extract those individually?
Um, I think this is okay because like if as long as I don't know why my button is not working. It's sorry, it wouldn't move the slide when I wanted to. I think just say them and you'll say like in the following like these are the images of those books. Because like their titles are on there, so people know what you're talking about when you say like Frederick Douglass and.
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
Like I think if you just read them out loud, the next slide will just show the images because it's not as if they don't know which one is which.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to switch slides. It's just my button wouldn't switch the slide, so I did hear your pause. I just couldn't move it. Yeah. I think if you just say like Jelani the Log, Harriet Tubman, my grandmother's quote, Marching with Martin, Frederick Douglass and the North Star, I'll move to this slide. And if you want, you can talk about the covers and just say like, I don't know if you have anything to say about the covers. If not, we'll just pause here for a little bit and then move on.
I mean, each of the covers deals with my own design, and in those designs, you have in Jelani and the Lock, you see the image rendition of the lock. Harriet Tubman, my grandmother's quilts. You see in the background of her, actually my mother's and grandmother's quilts. Marching with Martin, all part of something that I did when he came to Chicago, and Frederick Douglass, something I learned in school. Jelani and the Lock is a stunning award. Do I need to read this?
No, just start again. Just say whatever you want. This is just for them to see, but just say Jelani and the Log is a book I wrote after something happened. Like just sort of explain it. You don't have to read this though.
Okay. Jelani and the Lock is based on a book that was inspired by a lock that I inherited when my pop passed away. And then is also to tell the story of our history from the beginning here in this country. Yes, it's a very challenging book, and it deals with a little boy taken from Africa, brought to the Americas, put in locks and chains. And I'm going to read and go through this book page by page so you can get a sense of how we got here and how we have progressed since we've been here. A long time ago in Africa, a little boy named Jelani, loved to play in the forest, loved to hang out and playing in the forest. The forest was very beautiful to Jelani. Everywhere he looked, there was life and magic. Jelani's mother told him many times not to play in the forest by himself, but he played there anyway. You know how kids, they don't obey their mothers sometimes. One day when Jelani was playing in the forest with his imaginary friends, a strange man came, took him away to a far, far, far off land, America. Locks and chains were put upon Jelani. He was forced to work all day with very little food and was never allowed to play again. Jelani was forced to change many things: his name, his clothes, his food, and even his language. Obatala, Obatala, Chongo, Chongo. But they could not change his memories of home. Home. One day, a tall man, the Blick Black Hat said, all slaves should be free. And freedom finally came, y'all. Freedom finally came. And Jelani was set free, but he kept the lock and the key that kept in slavery. Over the years, Jelani had lots of children and grandchildren. Just before he died, Jelani gave the lock to his eldest son, He told his son that he must pass it on to his own children one day. So they never forget from where they all came from. The whole world came from my mama, Africa. The lock is passed down on to me by my great grandfather Steve Pace, who was born in a slave, and passed on to me my great grandfather. I got to make some corrections here. Is that okay?
Yeah. The text doesn't matter. I can change that, but just tell me what's wrong, and I'll change it.
Okay. What's wrong is that Stephen Pace was born. That's be my great grandfather in Alabama.
Was that it? Just the great grandfather?
Yes, my great.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just fix that.
And this is the original image of the original lock, which is now sitting in the Smithsonian African American Museum in Washington, D.C. And also, it is the beginning of Steve Pace's journey from Tuskegee, Alabama, and through the progressions of his getting his freedom. Tuskegee history carries the story because it has a connection in Alabama, and also it deals with the original law because it's based it's buried as a replica in the base of the monument here in New York. So the two, Alabama and New York, is tied by the hip. And this is an image of the Tuskegee Institute Center in Alabama. So we're gonna move on to Triumph of the Human Spirit. And again, a bronze replica of the family heirlooms is buried as a part of the beginning of the monument here in New York City, which is the world's largest outdoor site-specific devoted to enslaved African Americans in the United States. And then you'll see the images, and and I'll talk about it further in the video about how it is progressed. Now you can see the triumph of the human spirit.
When they had a call off for an artist to build this monument, I said, well, hey, I might as well throw my hat in the ring too. It's just I had this lock. And I threw my hat in the ring, and I was very fortunate I think the ancestors was the ones that really said, hey, okay, now I'm going to show you that you got the link to the lock and the key. So, hey, I'm going to give it to you I have nothing to do with it. I was just a pawn in the process of being awarded.
At the bottom there, you see the boat. The boat represents the very early Native Americans that used to boat in this area. This area was fishing and wild game. The boat also represents the Middle Passage for African and African Americans. Also, the boat represents the immigrants that came here mostly by boat and water. On top of the boat, you see the Chihuahua. Chihuahua is an antelope, and you see the antelope, the two horns. There's a male and female version of the antelope. And my inspiration to build this monument comes from the female antelope because she carries the baby. You see the two horns, the big horn. Then you see the little small two horns in the back. That's the baby. And the baby represents the next generation. And you see the beak of the antelope points towards directly to the African burial ground and points to the ground where the African were discovered.
So sorry, can you hear me?
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
I'll add the video. So I know the video was slightly cut off in the recording. I'll add the video in the recording, like in the editing phase, so that they can see the entire thing. They won't see what we just saw. They will see the video, but I'll expand the video so it's covering everything. So they won't see the advertisements or anything like that.
Okay, but I think that we should start talking about the burial ground with the discovery first. Discovering of the grounds. That's a part of the video.
Mm-hmm. So this part next, you want to be before?
Yes, before.
Okay, I can just clip and switch it. So
okay.
If you talk like this, if we talk about this, I'll include this before the previous section.
Yes.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, like have this before the actual talking about the monument.
Exactly. So discovering of the grounds, then we get into talking about what the significance of the monument is.
Yeah. If you can just, when you talk about the slide or when you start talking about the slide, just pretend like you're saying this before you're talking about the monument. So just start off talking about this.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to start on this slide?
Yes.
You can go ahead.
The African burial ground was discovered really in 1991, and it was a gigantic archaeological discovery. This is the oldest burial ground in America, and it is now the original site that Africans were discovered. Yeah, right.
So I come back to New York, and they discovered the African burial ground in Lower Manhattan. And I was just shocked, because first of all, I had a log in my possession that linked me directly to the enslaved population here in New York. So I go down, jumped over the fence, began to photograph the site. That was me connecting myself with our past.
It was my privilege to be mayor during the time that it was discovered that blacks, slaves, and were buried in that area because they would not permit black folks to be buried within the city. This area was beyond the city boundaries. We don't think often about New York and slavery. We think of the South, but it was going on here as well.
Hey, Victoria?
Yes.
Now, just before that, I started talking, I had went to the South to bury my father in 1991. And that's when I came back. I don't think you put that into the video. Because I said,
Sorry, I didn't understand what you said. Can you say it again?
I said, just before this, I started talking about the discovery of the ground. I just came back from Alabama burying my father in 1991. Mm-hmm. And you cut that off before. Although you start with the burial, me talking about the burial ground. But before, I just got back from Alabama.
Could you say that in the part where you talk about the lock? Because I know that you say that you got the lock after you buried your dad. Your uncle decided to give it to you, right? After the burial of father. Could you mention that before, like in the lock part? Because I think that makes more sense there than it does here.
Okay. Well, then you need to.
Do you want to redo the lock slide?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
And
sorry.
In 1991, I came back from Alabama burying my father, and that's when the story of the lock came, and my uncle, who was very close to my father, asked my mother to if he had a lock in the bedroom. So my uncle go to the bedroom, bring the lock out, and present it to the family, and it was a shock for the entire family. And the family decided I'd be keeper of the lock, and so that's how I became the repository of the law. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'll use that clip instead of the previous one where you talked, whatever you said on that slide. Sorry, where were we? Okay, so I'll show the next video after this right now and just sort of move on from there.
Okay.
In Sankofa, you have to connect for your past in order to know where you're going for the future. And I think it's important that we not only know for ourselves, but to teach our children about our past. Our past is painful, yes. And that's one of the things that inspired me to write my book, because my daughter, who's now 16, when she was 8 years old, asked me, Daddy, are we from slaves? That was a provocative question for me, an 8-year-old, to drop on me. And how do you explain that to a kid without feeling shame? But it's important that you know her history. It's important to look back. Yeah, okay. I told her, yes, we're from slaves, but look what we've done. We'll create great things. I began to tell her, even though we were from slaves, but there's nothing to be ashamed of. I think everybody has to look at their past. I think every race, every being has to look at their past and see how they conduct themselves now for futuristic, especially for your kids. Is your past is you.
Sorry, it just gets stuck. You can start from here if you want.
Okay. Triumphant Human Spirit was a celebration of the 20th year of the triumph of the human spirit. And triumph of the human spirit is a very important aspect of our development here in this country. That's why I named it Triumph of Our Human Spirit, because it connects all of humanity to this very challenging history of slavery. This is where we gave the Crohn Human Spirit Day, because it connects all humanity to the horrific end of slavery for the world. We had celebration of dance, music, drumming, and also a really celebratory celebration, even though we had to deal with 6 feet distancing because we couldn't have many people on the grounds. But we celebrated anyway, and we got the president of the borough of Manhattan to bring a proclamation to the site, and she read the proclamation in the site, and we had a number of speakers, and Reverend Butts from the Appleton Baptist Church, one of the judges from the courthouses, which is right across the street, and this is the borough president give the actual proclamation on that day, and as we celebrated. Very, very enlightening. People enjoyed it because we didn't think that we was gonna have anything to celebrate that day. And I'm alumni of the Illinois State University, and the president of the university came to the monument to celebrate the diversity and also to give a rounding support of how we can begin to move forward with our issue of systemic racism here in this country. And they really enjoyed it. And this is a photograph of me celebrating that day with the college, the university, and this is the university alumni. And the president is sitting in the center as me sitting in the center among the monument. Very, very welcoming process that day. And then also last year, we celebrated the naming of the boulevard around the monument, Black Lives Matter Boulevard. And the borough president got about 15 different artists to paint the signs and also to give celebration of the importance of Black Lives Matter and the history that we all are part of. And you'll see in the video the actual footage of the Black Lives Matter and the monument in the center, which spreads out like a sunburst, and the center with the water not on, but you can see the sunburst. And that's the design that I made to give it a sunburst, kind of like celebratory event of what it was like that day. And and you'll see in the video how the overall presentation is part of the event. And what a wonderful working day that was to celebrate the changing of the street to Black Lives Matter Boulevard here in New York City. And each letter is from each artist, each different artist. And that's very, very important because each artist expresses in the way they want to be expressed of Black Lives Matter.
Can you say that again? Just I think the audio might have cut out your voice. Will you just say right now? I really liked it. Can you say that again?
Well, it's not, it's not moving. Okay.
Yeah, but just say that like
each of the letters that you see are part of the Black Lives Matter Boulevard. Each artist expresses the way they felt they want to say and tell the story of our history. So as you look at the lettering, each one has its own uniqueness. The first letter, B, is an artist from Ghana, West Africa, and he expresses it the way he felt it should be. What's going on? I mean, I don't understand. I'm not.
No, so I'm gonna include that audio that you just said right now, because when you were talking over the video, it's not going to record your voice is going to be clashing with music. Because the video has music, so I couldn't hear what you were saying when you were talking in the middle of the video. But I'm going to include that part before I show the video so that they know that when they're looking at the letters, each letter has a different artist.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you want me to just roll the video now?
Yes.
Actually, sorry, it just occurred to me. I can just mute the video and have you say that as the video is playing. Would you mind saying what you said again about like each letter? I'll mute the video so they can hear you, and it's just going to be the video playing and you talking over it. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
In this video, you'll see the different letters, and each letter is presented by a different artist, how they see our history. The first letter B is from an artist from Ghana, West Africa, and each of these artists is a part of a group that how they express our history, and it's very important for them to individually, show their artistic expression. So Black Lives Matter is a very, very important part of the history of this city, and it does matter. And this building is the Thurgood Marshall Courthouse, who was the first African American in the Supreme Court. And also next to him, next to the building is David Dinkins Building, which also the first African American as a mayor here in New York City. So this is a very, very important site, very, very important site for the city of New York. Very important. It's Wall Street is only 4 blocks away. The World Trade Center is only 5 blocks away. The financial district, and it's just a real important site for the most expensive site in the world, because so many different protests have taken place here, and the site itself was born out of protest, because African Americans felt that they should not build anything on the site, but the federal government also put the state office building on this site across the street. And that's where you can get a good glimpse of the importance of the site here in New York City. And I think it's very important that we understand we have to learn from each other and not be able to shy away from the topic of systemic racism here in this country. We all have to be a part of it, eradicating it from our discourse and our lives. And each person has to be a part of that. And if Black Lives Matter, the whole humanity lives matter. Very important for all of us to understand. We all interconnected, all need each other. I bleed, you bleed. So that's very important for this program to share our common humanity.
Okay, so I would end it there. I think overall, what I did record today, sorry, let me actually stop the recording so I'm not. Let me stop sharing my screen.